Hey, greetings, Jay Stone here, Cap Ball Fanatic Channel. This week, we're looking at the viewer's choice #1 revolver to be featured on the channel, and that is the Spiller Burr by Pieta. We're going to put it through its paces today from different distances, and let's see how it does. We're going to put a couple 3 cylinders on paper and see how we can shoot this Spiller Burr by Pieta. A little windy today, so if I'm not very accurate, that's my excuse. I'm building it in up front. Let's step back at the 15-yard line right here and see how we do. Remember, I'm aiming about 7 or 8 inches low, and these are coming in bullseye and below, so I'm going to pull it up just a little bit here. That one went a little high, so now we'll go back a little low with it. Okay. I think I see 5 or 6 on the target down there, so we'll take it. All right, cylinder number 2. Did pretty good the first time. Let's see how we do this time. It's real good. We found our point of aim. It's literally 7 inches, not below the bullseye, but below the paper. This thing shoots a good foot and a half high. Cylinder number 3. So sometimes I have to cock this with 2 hands because the caps, when they explode, they catch themselves on the top strap. And they don't fall down in the action like they do with Colts. But I have to cock this with 2 hands most of the time. And that's kind of irritating when it comes to a 6-shooter. That would slow you right down. Yep, see? Like all these replica cap and ball revolvers, once you find the point aim, it's a good shooter. As you know from the beginning of the video, I had a wind problem with my target cam. Not only when I was able to use it was the wind sound so bad that you couldn't even hear it, and it was really irritating, but also the gust came up so big that it blew my camera over, knocked it down, and broke it into about 15 pieces. So I apologize for not having my target camera on the video, but this is the target that we used, and so we'll go through it right now, and I'm going to move this up just a little bit so you can see it better. This is, I hit the target, the paper, 16 out of the 18 times. And a couple of the misses were right up front when I was trying to figure out where I was supposed to aim. When you see this up here, that's when I was playing with aim about right here. And when you see this down in here, I was shooting, 7 or 8 inches below the target. So 16 out of 18 on target. You can see the adjustments that I had to make as we went through. But by the end of these, we were doing pretty darn well. So the string test is our 19th century Union Army way of testing shooter accuracy over firearm precision. So what we do is we take our point of aim, which is the red dot, and we measure how many inches each one is, each shot that hit the paper is, from the point of aim. We add all of those up and divide by the number of shots. So when we add all these up, We came to 47 total inches divided by the 16 shots on paper, which means that my average distance from my point of aim with each shot was 2.94 inches. And as I've said before in other videos where I've done this, my standard, sort of what's acceptable to me, that feels like I have some competence happening, is 3 inches or less at any distance. So not bad at all. It's acceptable to me. With more practice, this will get better, hopefully. So today we've had a good day. Now we're going to come back. We're going to shoot some steel from a little further away, and then we're going to shoot big yellow from a little further away yet, and see how far we can run this gun back, this revolver back, and see what the range of this thing is. So I give you a good look at the Spiller Burr by Pieta. All right, steel, about 20 yards. Let's see how we can do here. Ah, missed that one. Missed that one. All right, this is a nice shooter. I enjoy it quite a bit. Yep, and so will you. Just a little history before we start shooting at 25 yards on steel. This particular model of the Spiller Burr, the one that's the most prevalent and was the most prevalent during the Civil War, is called the first model, second type. It was made through a partnership with a fellow by the name of James Burton, who was the superintendent of the Richmond Armory, along with Misters Spiller and Burr, who were rich investors of the time, and they partnered up to make the what became known as the Spiller Burr, modeled after the Whitney revolver. This one is different than the first model, first type, in that it has a shorter barrel, 6.5 inches. It has the full thick frame where the barrel screws into the frame. And this is the one that passed all the ordnance tests and became one of the handguns of the Confederate Army during the Civil War. So let's shoot this thing at 25 yards on steel. You'll be able to hear if I'm successful, and let's see how we can do. Thing shoots really high, so I'm going to be aiming low. There's one. I think I missed that one. We've hit 2 out of 3. Let's try this bad boy. Shooting pretty well at 25. Ah, got cocky. So before we go reload and shoot this thing again, let's talk about a little more about the Spiller Burr's history real briefly. They made about Burton, Spiller, and Burr in their Richmond Armory and in other places made about 1,450 to 1,500 of these during the Civil War. It was the second most manufactured revolver of the manufacturers in the South during that time. As the war started to change and the pressure started to mount and the Confederacy started losing ground, they had to move their factory from Richmond, Virginia to Macon, Georgia. And they were set up shop there, and they were making their revolvers, didn't plan on the Sherman campaign and what we know as Sherman's March to the Sea. And as that campaign started in 1864, they ended up trying to move their factory to Savannah, Georgia. And they managed to do that, but didn't get set up before the war came to an end. And of course, they ceased manufacturing them. So it's a good revolver. It's a classic Confederate States Army revolver, and we're putting it through its paces, or maybe more likely, it's putting me through my paces. So let's get loaded up again and see what we can do. Good old Spiller Burr, 25 yards, onto steel. Okay, so I think we found it at 25 yards. Before we move on, let's talk for a few minutes about what I learned from today's shooting of the Spiller and Burr. And number one, when I first shot this a few times, I was shooting it with 10 to 12 grains with some filler, cream of wheat. So when I shot it, smelled like breakfast. I wasn't comfortable with that load. I know it's a brass frame. We're supposed to load them down. If this were a steel framed 36 caliber revolver of the same size, I would have shot this with 20 to 22 grains of either 3FG black powder or Pirate XP. So I did load it down to 15 grains, and I found that to be the absolutely ideal load for me. The second thing, though, I did find is figuring out, getting the rhythm down of loading this, is I found it more difficult to load. And that's largely because of this solid frame. And if you can see in there really carefully, when you put your round ball on your cylinder and you spin that, it spins in and it bangs against the back of the frame. And it's a little harder to get your fingers in there to get this stuff loaded. So it took me a minute to sort of get the rhythm of loading. But once I got that down, it was fine. And then the third thing is that the nipples, the stock nipples on this revolver are smaller than they are on other Piettas. So I was finally able to use my CCI number 10s. But after they started getting fouled up, it took quite a bit of effort to get those bad boys on. But I have now since ordered a set of slick shot nipples. But the biggest thing that I learned about this particular revolver is its point of aim is very low. This thing shoots at least 12 inches, if not 13 inches high. As you saw in the video, I was shooting down beneath the paper. When I shot the steel targets at 20 yards, I was aiming into the ground in front of the target, and it was hitting them just fine. And when I was shooting at Big Yellow, again, even from back at 25 yards, I was shooting a good 6, 8, 10 inches below the target. And despite the fact that that target is tall, most of my hits were all along the top of that thing. So this thing shoots really high, but once you figure it out, shoots really well. Those are really the main lessons that I learned from this. Now, before we go, is that I'm going to take the last shots of the day, moving back to 36 yards. I'm going to put myself to the test and see if I can hit that target at 36 yards more than once out of 6. So let's see if I can pull this off at 36 yards. What do you think? I'm not taking any bets. Missed. All right, there you had it. 4 out of 6 on steel from 36 yards. In my book, I passed the test. I'll take 4 out of 6 on steel from 36 yards and deeper all day long with any of my revolvers, but especially with the Spiller and Burr, which quite frankly felt really different in my hand. The grip frame felt different in my hand. I found myself finding it difficult to get used to shooting this particular revolver, but as the day went on, you saw that at least my accuracy got a little better. So, it's coming. I'm going to keep shooting this. Y'all got me into firing this gun a lot over the last couple of days, and now I like it, and so it's going to have to become part of my rotation. Thanks a lot for coming. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Thank you for voting for the Spiller and Burr as the #1 viewer's choice cap and ball revolver. We'll get to the Colt Walker soon. What I really like is featuring guns of the Confederacy. Why don't you watch this video right here where I feature another Classic Confederate cap and ball revolver. Thank you, and we'll see you again on down the road the next time.